Hey, good evening, everybody. We got a nice, interesting program for tonight. We have our interpreters with us this evening. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate you. So as people are rolling in, we have Sarah and Sam. Ken. Oh, Ken, Sam, close enough. I never get names right until I get to know somebody a bit. So, and they're here to talk about some of the programs we offer from the local around apprenticeship, and some avenues for advancement for you that the union offers. So with that, I'm gonna let Sarah and Ken introduce themselves for a minute.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Sarah Mcginn. I'm apprenticeship coordinator and apprenticeship coordinator for SEIU Local 1000. I've been with the local for over a decade and worked on apprenticeships here for about 6 years since we started the programs.
Good evening, everyone. Ken Anyanu, Success Coordinator with SEIU Local 1000. I've been with the local for just over 5 years, working on apprenticeships for the last 4 years.
So do you have a presentation tonight?
We do, and we can speak about apprenticeship forever. So I'm happy to that we have the opportunity tonight.
We have to leave some time for people to ask questions.
Okay, I won't speak forever. But before we get started, if I might take the liberty, I wanted to acknowledge administrative professionals today. Today is Administrative Professionals Day. So to all our state workers who are admin techs, administrative assistants who work in the admin field, and our members or our staff at Local 1000, Andrea, especially Sid, Jessica, Donna, Janine, Lauren, Maribel, Sierra, Dolores, everybody here who makes up the admin team. We're so grateful for you. You run the.
Don't forget Michelle. Michelle's in the room.
Michelle, yes, absolutely. But thank you. It's the people that you are what keeps us moving and keeps the organization running. So thank you for affording me that. But we'll go ahead and get started then with our PowerPoint. Straight talk on apprenticeship programs. Okay. So next slide is our kind of content for this evening.
I think you have the remote. Oh, there you go.
The remote? Oh, okay. Thanks. So we're just gonna, we have 3 sections to cover today. Kind of what apprenticeship is, the definition of apprenticeship. We want to talk about our Local 1000 apprenticeship programs and our successes, and then what we look forward to this year and the coming years. So first of all, apprenticeship defined. What is apprenticeship exactly, and where does our contract fit in? So the DOL, United States Department of Labor definition of apprenticeship is an industry-driven, high-quality career pathway where employers can develop and prepare their future workforce, and where individuals can obtain paid work experience, classroom instruction, and a portable credential, so a standardized credential. A lot of apprenticeship regulations were set forth in the Shelley-Maloney Labor Act of 1939 for California, and these established some minimum standards for apprenticeship. One of these is on-the-job training, so it's a minimum of 2,000 hours, which is a year. Several programs, apprenticeship programs are 4 to 5 years. If you have seen the recent Benjamin Franklin, Ken Burns documentary, I think Benjamin Franklin's apprenticeship was 9 years, and he thought that was a bit long, so he ran away from it. But anyway, so ours are about a year. There's also related and supplemental instruction, or the coursework that's offered. That's a minimum of 144 hours for an apprenticeship, and those are the hours spent in training or in the courses. So a 3-unit course, semester course at a community college is about 54 hours. Our programs are typically 300 to 600 hours. Something that makes apprenticeship unique from and separate from an internship is that apprentices have to be paid. So interns don't have to always be paid, but apprentices do. There's also standards that apprentices work towards. So work processes, things that are required to obtain that credential. Unlike an internship where maybe you'll spend one day answering phones and another day, calling some folks about a campaign. Apprenticeship has set forth guidance and work processes. It culminates with a state and or federal credential that's portable. And then with apprenticeship, if there is an employee representative, like a union, that employee representative must be allowed to participate in the apprenticeship program. One other thing about our apprenticeships at Local 1000 is that they are non-traditional and innovative. So the occupations at Local 1000 and our state workers, we aren't members of trades groups. We aren't carpenters, plumbers, that kind of thing. These are all non-traditional and innovative apprenticeship programs. So looking at our contract a bit and what the apprenticeship language is in there. Like I said before, the Shelley-Maloney Labor Standards Act covers a lot of the apprenticeship requirements, but we do have some language in our contract, specifically in sections Article 13, Career Development, and Article 5, General Provisions. The broadest of these is really 13.3, discusses the Joint Apprenticeship Committee, and it sets forth the policy of the state employer and union to support the establishment of apprenticeship programs. So that really indicates that the state is invested in establishing programs. It also provides for the JAC structure, the Joint Apprenticeship Committee structure, which affords equal representation between management and labor. It also states that the state agrees to expand apprenticeship, and we can request to meet and confer on any of that. And then the state agrees to continue existing apprenticeship programs. So all the programs that we have started, the state is required to continue them. And when I say the state, our main employer partner and employer sponsor is CalHR, and they kind of oversee the participation of the other departments. Another section, a couple other sections of our contract are sections regarding information technology. These are really speak to the innovative part of apprenticeship, the need to upscale and fill in IT positions. So 13.4.1 established the ITJAC following that IT Unit 1 reclass, and the purpose was to create a system of IT apprenticeships. And then section 5.20.1 was really about replacing the Joint Labor Management IT Training Committee with the Joint Apprenticeship Committee. Okay, so I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Ken, who's going to discuss our programs and our successes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Sarah. So now that we've set the table as far as what apprenticeship is and how it fits into our union, we'd like to share a little bit more with you in terms of Local 1000's apprenticeship engagement overall. We'll dive in a little bit more about and share some context and details about our LVN to RN apprenticeship programs. We will also share details about the IT and financial service apprenticeship programs that we facilitate and administer. And then the last thing I want to touch on here in my section is going to be some funding successes that we've enjoyed. Here at Local 1000, we did start off with the first apprenticeship program, being an LVN to RN apprenticeship program in partnership with San Joaquin Delta College in Stockton. That program we established in 2016. Since then, we've grown to a total of 7 innovative or non-traditional apprenticeship programs. And as Sarah previously touched on, many of the occupations that we represent at Local 1000 are not consistent with a lot of the trades occupations which you find in traditional apprenticeships. So each and all of the apprenticeships we've established at Local 1000 are inherently innovative and non-traditional. Since 2016, we are pleased to announce that we've registered over 160 apprentices and counting. Those apprentices have been registered across 15 cohorts here in the last 6 years. And one thing we wanted to share with folks is that the competition for our programs is very pronounced among our members. For each application period that we facilitate, we see a minimum of 50 applications, which is still a high volume, but as many as 500 applications for just a handful of apprenticeship opportunities that are being facilitated by the departments. So the interest and the demand is high, both on the part of the apprentices as well as the participating departments.
So for us who don't know, Ken, what is a cohort?
Fantastic. Thank you so much for asking that, Bill. So a cohort is the manner in which we facilitate this learning experience for the apprentices. A cohort is a shared learning experience in which the learners go through the same curriculum and training together, and they reach the point of completion as a group. And there in that, we see some real benefits with the cohort-based learning. It provides the apprentices a network of their peers upon which they can rely when other resources might not be available. It also presents to the apprentices there in the cohort opportunities to engage in some leadership type activities, helping uplift their fellow peers who might be in need of assistance. So thank you for asking that. So a cohort, again, is the group of learners or group of apprentices that we are helping facilitate in each of the programs.
So you and your peers.
Absolutely. That would be a good way of distilling it down. Here in the programs, we've engaged with 6 local education agencies, but one could readily think of those as the California community colleges. Those are the entities that deliver the related supplemental instruction that was previously alluded to. And in support of the 7 apprenticeship programs, we've been awarded presently a total of 10 grants, each of which have gone to the support and continuation of our programs. So I mentioned that we started off with the LVN to RN Apprenticeship Program, which was launched in 2016. And what was unique about this program, there's a number of things unique about this program, but it was the first civil service LVN to RN apprenticeship in the nation. And so, you know, it was really groundbreaking in a lot of different regards. Again, it is a non-traditional apprenticeship, provided that the occupation trained is not associated with traditional trades. And our LVN to RN apprenticeship programs, we deliver these in partnership with California Community College, or I'm sorry, California Correctional Healthcare Services. And we partner with our community college partners here throughout the state of California. Again, we led off engaging with San Joaquin Delta College in 2016. Following that partnership, we established an apprenticeship program here in Sacramento with Sacramento City College, and subsequently expanded the apprenticeship offerings to Southern California with an apprenticeship program at Riverside City College. So we are very pleased to have expanded the LVN to RN apprenticeship programs into statewide offerings. Thus far, we've registered a total of 70 apprentices. And what's really exciting about this program, all of our programs confer a real material benefit upon those who complete and graduate from the program. But our nursing apprentices enjoy, on average, a salary increase of about 72%. And so we see that providing a great benefit to not just them, but their families as well that they each support. A lot of our LVN to RN apprentices commonly are single heads of household, or might be English as a second language learners, or might come from an immigrant background. And so we do see that this program goes a long way in helping uplift some of the members and who have an interest in growing their careers. So moving on, we did want to share that, you know, these LVN to RN apprenticeship programs go a long way in help addressing some equity issues that exist among across apprenticeships. This is some data provided here by the U.S. Department of Labor on apprenticeship, and what's represented on the left are the statistics across all apprenticeship programs. So across apprenticeships, 91% of apprentices are male. Whereas with our LVN to RN apprenticeship programs, 77% of the participants are female relative to the 23% male participants. And so we do see that this program, relative to traditional apprenticeships, goes a long way in helping address some of the equity issues that exist across industry sectors, but specifically within the industry sectors that are touched on by apprenticeships. One thing that we did want to share is that at the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, as well as the U.S. Department of Labor, they are working towards capturing data that is more inclusive. And so that goes beyond just the traditional binary gender groups identified here. And so we did want to share that with folks interested that that data going forward, I think, is something that the U.S. Department of Labor, as well as the Division of Apprenticeship Standards, are working on. Another set of our apprenticeship programs that we are very proud of is going to be our IT-focused apprenticeships. Following the establishment of the LVN to RN apprenticeship with San Joaquin Delta College in 2016, we branched out to partnering with Mission College, based out of Santa Clara. In partnership with Mission College, we engaged with Sacramento City College to deliver the related and supplemental instruction associated with this IT apprenticeship program. Here in this program, the occupations targeted are networking and help desk related occupations. And these programs, as Sarah mentioned, they can run from 1 to up to 9 years, but the IT-focused apprenticeship programs are up to 2 years in duration, and they utilize a T&D assignment to help deliver the on-the-job training, and that training takes place at the IT associate level. While engaging with this IT apprenticeship program, they will expect to complete approximately 24 units of college curriculum, and this experience culminates with a capstone experience being their completion of the CompTIA A+ certification, which is an industry-valued certification demonstrating their skills and competencies in IT-related activities. Thus far, we've registered 43 apprentices in this program, many of whom have already graduated and obtained their positions as either IT associates or IT specialists. So a program of which we are very proud and excited for its ongoing continuation. Happen there?
We'll get there.
Excuse us.
That's okay.
So another one of our IT-focused apprenticeship programs is going to be actually the Z Systems Mainframe Apprenticeship Program. That one was established immediately following the IT Apprenticeship Help Desk program. We launched this in March of 2020, and I think that was a period in time which all of us can remember, as this program was planned to be delivered wholly in person in terms of the on-the-job training and the related supplemental instruction. That day, on March 13th, 2020, social distancing measures were implemented, and we had to make a pivot to a 100% online or remote learning experience. And we are very excited and proud to have navigated that change within the context and challenges presented by COVID. This program, the Z Systems Mainframe Apprenticeship Program, was one that was initiated by the California Department of Technology in partnership with us at Local 1000 as well as IBM. And this program is aimed at helping maintain the state's very critical mainframe infrastructure, which is utilized heavily in some of our larger departments, such as EDD, DMV, CDT, and others. And so this program, it not only aims to address a business need that the state has presently and will continue to have well into the future, but it also aims to help create equity and build diversity within these IT occupations that are trained here in this apprenticeship. This program culminates with a certificate that is delivered by ARC, and then there's also a Division of Apprenticeship Standards certificate of completion, which is that portable certificate Sarah previously referred to, demonstrating their skills and their knowledge within these occupations, and will help the apprentice go from employer to employer, validating their skill set. Pictured here on the screen is the graduation event we hosted via Zoom this past March of our first cohort of apprentices, many of whom have already secured their IT associate or IT specialist positions within their departments. Another one of our IT-focused apprenticeships is going to be the Cybersecurity Apprenticeship Program, established in 2021. So one of our most recently established apprenticeship program. This too is in partnership with American River College and is aimed at training the information security analyst position. One thing that we wanted, the thing about the Cybersecurity Apprenticeship Program is that it aims to address some very pronounced current as well as future needs within this occupation. It's no secret that cybersecurity and information security is something that is important not only to individuals but organizations worldwide. The state of California, as well as Local 1000, has noticed that as a priority and thus established this program. To highlight some of the gap that was just mentioned, there on the right side of the screen, you see the talent gap demonstrated for the cybersecurity workforce here in the state of California. And what one could take away from that graphic is that effectively for every two employees, every two cybersecurity professionals employed within the industry, there is one job opening. So the vacancy rate currently is very pronounced for this industry sector. Further, the Bureau of Labor Statistics projects an ongoing need for occupations nationwide to grow 8%, whereas for cybersecurity, the projected rate of growth for that industry for cybersecurity is going to be about 33%. So relative to other industry sectors, we anticipate a really heightened ongoing need for professionals within this industry sector. And I think the last program I'd like to touch on here today is going to be the Financial Services Apprenticeship Program. Pictured here is the first cohort in the signing ceremony we hosted in January of 2020. So prior to social distancing requirements, but nonetheless, this cohort launched in January of 2020 and recently enjoyed their graduation ceremony this past January of 2022. We are glad to announce that we registered a second cohort of apprentices in August of 2021 and have enjoyed the participation of about 6 departments here throughout the state of California. And the occupations we're targeting here within this program are accountant trainee, tax auditor, and tax examiner, collector, or revenue agent. So very, very pleased to have this portfolio of programs available to us here at Local 1000, and we look forward to continuing to grow these offerings for our members. And in terms of how we are able to facilitate these programs, we have enjoyed a high rate of success in terms of the grant opportunities we've pursued and been awarded. Here at Local 1000, since 2016, we've partnered on 10 different grant applications, seeking funding from both state as well as federal sources. And since 2016, all 10 of the 10 submitted grant applications have been funded. So effectively, our record is 10-0. We are undefeated in that sense, and look forward to continued victories here with our apprenticeship programs. So with that, we'll go ahead and pass it back to Sarah.
So I know we're going to get to questions soon. We're just going to finish this last portion here, but so looking forward for Local 1000, we wanted to share kind of California's apprenticeship goals with you, so you have some background on what that looks like. Talk about pre-apprenticeship opportunities, statewide IT apprenticeship, and then also apprenticeship growth for Local 1000 broadly and your contributions. So California's apprenticeship goals. You may or may not have heard about this, but the intention is to establish 500 apprentices by 2029. So a little less than a decade now, maybe 7 years now. To put that number in perspective, we have some numbers for a nationwide apprenticeship. So in 2014, we had 430,000 apprentices nationwide. 5 years later, 630,000 apprentices. In California, in 2014, we had 34,900 apprentices, and 5 years later, we had about 94,000. To get to 500,000, that's an increase of 400% in 1 decade. I think we can do it, but I think we need to grow at a rapid rate. And I think we need, exploring innovative and non-traditional apprenticeships and tapping that untapped area for apprenticeships is where that's going to happen. And that's going to happen with SEIU Local 1000. So talking about a pre-apprenticeship a little bit, this is something new for us. Last year, we applied for 2 pre-apprenticeship grant applications. They were awarded this April, and one of them is to support LVN to RN apprenticeship development, and the other is to support the state of California civil service pre-apprenticeships that would go towards preparing people for the IT apprenticeships and financial services apprenticeships. One thing that pre-apprenticeship is designed to do is really to, again, prepare people for the rigors of the apprenticeship program, help them meet any requirements that are they haven't yet met for LVN to RN. A lot of that is those science courses that are hard to complete and hard to get into. And then for our civil service pre-apprenticeship, looking to prepare people for some exposure to occupations they might be interested in, but may not have had that exposure yet. So we have had, apprentices who get into the program and realize, whoa, this isn't for me. I'm not an accountant. I don't want to do this. And so pre-apprenticeship really gives people the opportunity to test out an occupation and to develop some of those soft skills and competencies needed. And then each of these programs aims to serve 100 pre-apprentices. So it's quite a bit. And then we're looking to expand our IT apprenticeship statewide. Previously, before COVID, this has been really kind of an in-person endeavor in Sacramento, and we have wanted to broaden it. And we've heard state workers saying we want this in our area. It's been a little bit of a challenge with management. It's much easier to administer a program when it's centralized in one location. But I think if there's one silver lining to COVID, it's that we've learned that we can do things remotely. And that includes offering apprenticeship remotely. So this is our aim for the next year, to expand our IT apprenticeship program statewide. And then, so what is also next for Local 1000? Just to share that the time is really ripe for apprenticeship development. We talked about California's goals as a state to, exponentially grow apprenticeship. But there's also federal interest with the new administration creating a national advisory committee on apprenticeship, putting a lot of funding into what they call high road training partnerships, which are a, I guess I would call them a training opportunity that involves both the employer and a labor voice. And so there's lots of funding going towards that. It's just a really interesting time for apprenticeship, and it's something that everybody gets behind, regardless of political party. So, and then we see the explosive growth in non-traditional sectors where we see high demand for labor, healthcare, IT, data analytics. So, looking at the in-demand occupations of interest, we see medical assistant quite a bit that we're looking at. Again, data analytics. Management analysts are AGPAs and SSAs. But then we also want to hear from you if you know of in-demand, hard to fill occupations at your department, or things that just continue to see be vacant. That's an opportunity as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at moving forward. And I guess we'll just open up to questions, but I did want to also express gratitude towards all of our apprentices. They have kind of taken a leap of faith with us in these new programs. There is a benefit, of course, but there is a learning curve, and we've had some bumpy, road along the way. So kudos to everybody for working with us and making these programs successful. So I will turn over to Bill.
All right. Hey, can we get the screen back? Oh, there we go. So we've had some very patient people with their hands up. So let's ask Wanda and Ez to unmute.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, Ken. Nice to see you guys again.
Good to see you, Wanda.
I know, I push your program at EDD all the time when you guys come and start it. But my question is now is, do we have anything that we can do to promote our custodians, our Unit 15? You know, you have apprenticeship, but I wanted to know, is there something that we can get them so that we can elevate that group as a whole to another level?
That's a great question. And I think you probably recall that we used to be in some discussions about a DGS custodian apprenticeship.
Yes, I remember
Right,
a long time ago with the other director, I forgot his name.
right. And the DGS director, I don't recall his name either, but I think he has since departed. We actually were discussing this today, and I know DGS is trying to get this figured out. We are hoping to work with a community college partner to develop a program that would be exclusively for custodians, but that it would also tap into that pre-apprenticeship opportunity to help
Yes,
people
to
figure
develop
out.
that skills, the pre-skills they need to get to the
Right.
full apprenticeship.
But I will share that the interest in that apprenticeship program is still there. Jamal Amen at DGS is still looking at it, and we've still been speaking with CalHR and Division of Apprenticeship Standards about how we could get that off the ground this year. So I appreciate that question, because that's something that's, I think, near and dear to all of our hearts.
Yes, I remember us talking about it a long time ago. And I wanted to know if any fruitation have come up, you know, any elevated
Absolutely.
level. So
I
is
think,
it
yes,
gonna happen this year?
I am hoping so, and I will do everything in my power to get that underway. Because that is just custodians have been, you know, kind of our COVID warriors at the state. They've been through the ringer, and this opportunity is perfect for them. So I'm hoping that we see something this year.
Thank you. Thank you for all the work you guys do. I appreciate you guys helping people promote.
Oh, thank you, Wanda. Thanks for sharing the program. We appreciate
All right.
it.
Take care.
Thank you.
I won.
Hi, Frank. Can you unmute tonight?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Chair Hall and Sarah and Ken. I have a question for you. Thank you guys for all you do with the apprenticeship programs and promoting our members and stuff. Are there going to be any more IT classes per se for say like server level and networking? And I also wanted to uplift Chair Hall this weekend and thank him for his composure during this past weekend's intense board meeting. I know that moving forward, we need to stop the infighting. And on that note, we just need to remember at the end of the day, we are all brothers and sisters. And we just need to remember that we can agree to disagree, but we need to do that in a respectful manner. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the question, Frank. In terms of the IT apprenticeship program, we aim to continue that program. We don't presently have an application period outlined, but it is a program that will be continuing into the future. And we encourage people to visit the website for updates about future application periods.
So part of Frank's question was about networking, right? So you're network specialists. So was there any plan or is there any vision to expand and add, you know, training and upward mobility opportunities in server application and network application?
And I can answer this. So our IT apprenticeship has the two focuses, or focuses, on both help desk and network. But oftentimes, a lot of apprenticeship, and I think this is certainly not unique to Local 1000, but nationwide, is really employer driven. So what does the employer need, and what are they interested in investing in? And I think our first IT apprenticeship was networking. I think there were some growing pains in that. Unfortunately, some people think networking is not apprenticeable, maybe. Like maybe it's a help desk thing, or maybe it's something that we think of as a maybe, you know, more entry-level occupation. But apprenticeship is really meant to take, you know, and someone with aptitude and bring them up to the journey level. So I think we would love to see more networking cohorts. We've had 2 so far. I'm hoping that we see more, because especially with cybersecurity issues, networking is right on the forefront there.
Yeah, that would all tie together,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Cybersecurity, the network, the
networking.
server.
Exactly,
Sure.
exactly. But it's a lot of it is getting that employer engagement and department participation. And I think we do that through, membership strength and our relationships with, our departments and CalHR. That's a big part of
Right.
it.
So this does emphasize the relationship between the state of California as our employer
Mhm.
and the organization, and we have to meet mutual needs.
Right,
Right?
right.
It's not just what we want, it's also what they
Right.
want.
But illustrating that need is there, I think, and which is what we do in bargaining as well when we negotiate, is
Right.
demonstrating there's a need here and this is what we should do.
We had another hand up in between. I think it was a Brian, and we lost somebody here. They'll come back. So let's go to Yolanda. Yolanda, I hope you can unmute.
Yes, I can.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I have a question in regards to apprenticeship for analysts. Okay. Now, I am a limited EPR with EDD. It'll be 2 years in August. And for the past year and a half that I've been there, I've seen a lot of government analyst positions, a lot with EDD. And so I'm wondering if you all will offer or have open at this time apprenticeship for analysts, and if so, how can I start tomorrow?
Go ahead and take that. Yeah, thanks for that question. That is something that we don't have established yet. We do know it's a huge need for the state, and that's where several vacancies lie in the state with their analyst positions. I think it might be kind of a little bit, it might require, for your college courses, a bit of outside of the community college scope that we're working with right now. But it's certainly something we've talked about. And I think it's kind of the next threshold for us. Again, we have to kind of make the case with our management partners, but I think that would be really valuable, and it's something that I would like to see personally. Working in apprenticeship, I think Division of Apprenticeship Standards shares that as well. So presently we don't have that available, but I do think, I certainly would invite you to email us at GROW, it's GROW @SEIU1000.org, and just reiterate your interest, and maybe we can get some interest going with the state. So
Okay.
thank you, Luke.
Thank you. Oh,
So-
one last question, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Do you all work with the CWC?
What was the question?
Can you repeat your question?
This is the union, local union, right?
Yes.
So you all offer different opportunities in the CWC, so that's something totally different, right?
CWC?
Yeah, I don't believe
CWC, it's like careers or something where they offer these different trainings and stuff to help you to promote in your field or in the state, but it's called CWC.
I'm not familiar with that, but if you can email us, or we can follow up with you and touch base on that, we might just be missing the acronym and be able to figure it out. So thank you for your work, Yolanda.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So Wanda's made it back to the top of the list here, Wanda.
I forgot to ask a question. I had 2 IT people from employment training panel asking they wanted to participate in the apprenticeship, but they did not. It was only EDD that participated. So how can we recruit the smaller departments? Because they couldn't apply because they were not EDD employees, they were ETP. So how can we get like ETP to participate in this? So those 2 gentlemen who approached me, I can say, yes, you can apply now.
Thanks for that question, Wanda. And I think this is a similar situation in the sense that we would want those individuals at ETP with the interest in participating to reach out to us and let us know so that we can help build the case that there is the interest as well as the need, and connect with the appropriate management partners within that within that unit there at ETP to facilitate the opportunities. But again, the reason why they were previously precluded is because ETP hadn't elected to participate in those
Right.
prior cohorts. And so going forward, again, I would just, if you get back in touch with them, advise them to reach out to us by email and let us know of their interests. That way we can try to get in touch with them.
All right, I will. Thank you.
Thank you, Wanda.
Thank you, Wanda.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Patricia. Can you unmute?
Yes, I can. Hi, how are you guys doing tonight?
Good, yourself?
I'm doing great. Hey, I had two questions for you. The one of them is you mentioned with the LVN to RN that there was a pre-apprentice program. I haven't heard much about that one. How does that work?
Well, that's a really good question because we don't know yet. It was just funded the beginning of April, so we're working to establish what that looks like and how it will support LVNs to achieve, the prerequisites needed to apply to the LVN to RN apprenticeship. But it's really just at the basic funding stage right now. We're meeting, and I should say Sacramento City College is the fiscal agent of the grant, but the intention is to make sure that LVNs eligible for any of or who work in any of the institutions that support the apprenticeship would be able to make use of the pre-apprenticeship. It's really just in the very elementary programmatic stages where we're trying to determine, how it's all going to work. But I know our goal and the goal of CCHES as well is to make sure that people have opportunities across the state to take those courses and prepare themselves for the apprenticeship.
Awesome. I'm one of the LVNs at my institution who's actually doing the prereqs to get there, and we have a few. The other question, it was a multi-part question, I guess. I'm sure it's across the board with all the different agencies that have nurses, but I know particularly with the nurses within CDCR, we have a huge shortage. So as we ladder our LVNs up to RNs, right now at my institution alone, I want to say we're running about a 30% shortage of LVNs. So as we lose more, as they move up, we're not losing them, but they're moving up, bettering themselves. I want to see everybody better themselves. Do we have anything coming down the pipeline, maybe to assist like medical assistants or CNAs to get into LVN programs? Because we have a strong need for that as well.
Good. And again, a really good question. We haven't yet focused on LVNs. We've been looking at medical assistants, but I think LVN is certainly, a good candidate as an occupation. I think, we've really seen the healthcare workforce turn over the last couple of years. I mean, it's been a really challenging time for our nurses and first responders on the front lines there. And so reevaluating kind of what the objectives are for healthcare apprenticeships, seeing nurses leave the workforce due to some of these issues. So I think that's something that's certainly that we can evaluate and look at further and see what the demand is and work with CCHES with that as well. So thank you for raising that.
Thank you. I agree. It is hard. I mean, we have a huge shortage, and it doesn't really help that everybody else in the world is getting the COVID pay or getting extra money for that. And we just kind of got a too bad, so sad, doesn't help.
No, I agree. And the mandatory overtime people are subject to and just the working conditions, it's a lot. I mean, I'm really impressed with all of our healthcare workers, especially at CCHES and especially our apprentices. I can't imagine, it's just very difficult. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Hi, Brian. Welcome back. Can you unmute and join us?
Yes. Hello. Thank you so much, Chair Hall. My question, well, it got answered earlier. I was asking about the IT apprenticeships, and that's why I kind of lowered my hand. But how can you give us a little bit more detail of what you learned from COVID and how you're trying to kind of expand the IT apprenticeships across the state And because it seems like you just got pre-approved, you just got approved for the pre-apprenticeship, if was my understanding, for the IT one. You just got approved for that one.
Or grant.
And yeah, the grant. So as you're kind of discussing this and you want to try to move it out of, not to say out of Sacramento, but who is the grant college or, you know,
Yeah.
community college that you're dealing with from that one?
Want me to take this? You wanna take?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
So yeah, the college is American River College here. And they are also the fiscal agent for our cybersecurity apprenticeship that, we launched that first cohort in fall of 2021, which was completely remote. So we do have, I think, a few people outside of Sacramento on that. But I think the issue that COVID really, the solution that COVID illuminated for all of us is that, the same with remote or telework from home, is that we all kind of thought if people aren't in their chairs at work, what are they doing? Can we keep an eye on them? Is this okay? And we've all learned that, yes, we can count on people to do their work, and oftentimes people are working longer if they're at home and a more conducive environment. And so I think that's what's also been proven with apprenticeship, is that we didn't need to have people show up in person to a study session at Local 1000 offices and make sure they were here on time. We could trust that people would do the work and get the work done remotely, take their courses remotely, and be responsible, professionals and students. So that's really, I think, what's opened the eyes of management in terms of expanding these programs and finding a way to serve, other departments in California and other areas is really important. Looking at a DGS custodian apprenticeship, that the majority of custodians are not necessarily located in Sacramento. They have buildings statewide they're responsible for. And so looking at how we support people across the state is definitely a priority. And I think it's becoming more so for our management partners as well.
Thank you, Brian. Hey, good evening, Lynn. Can you unmute and join us? Oh, come on, I'm clicking on it. Hi, Lynn.
You need an IT apprentice here to help you.
We have a
Hello.
master.
Oh, we have.
Hi, Lynn, welcome.
Good evening, Chairman Hall. I am going to touch upon what the previous Brian, I too am an IT person, and my problem is that I think Brian might have mentioned it and you might have mentioned about taking the cohort statewide. Well, I'm at an agency that is headquartered out of San Francisco. So a lot of times, which is the PUC, a lot of times we can't have our people enter into the apprenticeship because we're based in San Francisco. So I think you answered one of the questions of you're going to reach out more, but will you be reaching out to some of the agencies that are located in the San Francisco area? Because some of these San Francisco agencies they're headquartered out of Sacramento, but unfortunately my agency is headquartered in San Francisco.
Yeah. So we actually, I think, have in the past even solicited some participation from our departments that might be headquartered outside of the Sacramento area immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And we have had, especially in perhaps some of these recent cohorts, some participation. But I think Sarah mentioned that there had been that historic reluctance to offer these opportunities to folks not located here in Sacramento. And so, yes, it's an ongoing effort that has primarily been constrained by willingness on the part of our participating departments to have these positions be located outside of Sacramento. But it's something we aim to offer as broadly as we can, which with each program and each cohort, making sure that as many of our members have a chance to participate as possible. So absolutely, it's something historically we've taken up, and we look forward and hope for more success going forward in terms of getting these IT opportunities facilitated or not have them not be so concentrated in Sacramento.
Let's take a diversion for just a second and talk about that is a common issue, right? Why does the opportunity only offer itself in, you know, a certain small area, right? So what would help expand the opportunities? Do you need to hear from people? Do our bargaining teams need to hear from people? What's going to help move it and expand it across the state? Because when we were talking about the LV to RN program, what came to my mind is like Pelican Bay, up way up north, and there's not much up there, right? Great place, beautiful place, but you know, if you want to continue your education, there isn't much there, right? So what do you need from our membership and others to help move the state?
Well, I think certainly, I think expressing interest, whether it's to your bargaining chair, to your labor relations, you know, management or officer, making sure that the interest is known. But it's statewide. The issues we have are both, you know, expanding statewide and also expanding departmentally. I think someone mentioned, Lynn mentioned PUC. They have yet to participate in our apprenticeship programs, and sometimes, you know, it's difficult to solicit these departments to participate. And so we do a number of different strategies for that. We've tried, you know, one-on-one meetings with, or I should say, more executive level meetings with department leaders. We've done full, you know, broadcast Zoom showcase for several, you know, hundreds of people, but really figuring out how we get those departments on board so they are participating and that they realize that it's not only investing in employees, but it's also succession management. It's keeping that institutional knowledge with the organization. So I would say definitely reach out to your bargaining chairs, your stewards, and your HR and labor relations, just to get that known that that's an interest and a need.
All right, let's go back to Brian for a minute. Brian, please unmute.
Yes, so this question's kind of more for Chairman Hall. So I watched the board meetings and I've been watching them for the last couple months. And I know one of the big issues is about transparency and voting and electronic voting. I know on Zoom, we're able to create polls and then you're able to get a poll result report and you're able to then share that very quickly. Is there any way that we could potentially try to look at that for our next board meeting so we can easily ask yes or no for certain motions, certain votes, and then you automatically know who voted and then you have a record of it? So you can show it people.
Sure.
That's one thing that might be. And then another thing as well, I'm a new VP of our DLC, and we're having difficulty trying to get a virtual member meeting and I want people to show up to vote on our budget. Now it says the board can approve our voting by electronic means. So this is the corporate code of California for mutual benefit corporations, which SEIU is. And that would be able to, but the board has to approve that we can vote by electronic means. So is that something that we can try to propose to the board, or as your discussions going forward for the next agenda, we kind of look at to try to make it easier for our members to vote and be involved in the process?
Okay, so I'm going to answer the second question first. So what DLC are you in, Brian? Are you still there? Oh, you got muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm in 725.
Okay,
So,
and your president is?
Is Melissa Delarazio, Misty.
Misty, okay.
Yeah.
So you can work with Misty if you want, or you can ask Misty to craft a motion to come to the board to establish a different means of voting. And yes, electronic voting is allowed by law. And we can move that forward. There's a few things we need to do around our election process, and one of those might be to have a committee that works on this at the board level. Then I'm going to sort of shift gears and go back to your first question. So we're very aware of the different capabilities in polling and doing some of this stuff. Where it gets very difficult with a board meeting is when the motions change. So you have a friendly amendment, you have a substitute motion. The polling has to be prepared ahead of time. So the adding those changes into the polling makes polling much more difficult. And we have certainly talked about it. We've looked at applications, we've looked at add-ins for Zoom. We've
Well, I
looked at
know-
a lot of different things to try to make this flow better, right?
So one thing I've noticed is, or at least that I know that Zoom allows 50, you can do 50 polls within one meeting. But also the board meeting, usually someone will start arguing about the roll call vote, and then 15 minutes later, you guys kind of stop arguing about the means of the roll call vote. So in that time that someone is stalling, someone can easily, from the IT department, type up the motion, or verbally, as you're saying the motion, because don't you have to, before every vote, there has to be what motion is, and you have to state the motion. So text-to-speech software to try to quickly put that in, or I understand that you guys are looking at that, but some of you can prepare some of them because you know what the motions are. But if you have to kind of change them, there's so much downtime, it felt like, in the last couple meetings, that someone behind the scenes could, in real time, or say, I need to take a quick recess while we facilitate this poll. It's a lot better use than time than people arguing over and over again and talking over each other, trying to figure out about the voting, and then people didn't vote, they didn't get their vote right. Wait, hold on, was my hand down? Was it not down? And other people don't know how other people voted, and it's just it creates some chaos for members that are watching, trying to figure out our elected leaders trying to do our work, and seeing just the dysfunction is very disheartening.
I appreciate that, Brian. And before I move on, what I'll say is that, remember, behavior is a choice. We make choices, right? We make choices whether to obstruct or whether to move on and get the work done. So every vote is recorded and counted. I count, the parliamentarian counts, and I'm sure there are plenty of other people in the room who are counting as well. So every vote's counted, every vote is recorded, and every vote is put out in the meeting notes when they get approved. So I appreciate that, and we will continue to work to move forward to get more work done. And I don't have any other hands right now. You still have your hand up, Brian. Do you have another question to ask that's related to the apprenticeship program?
No, I don't. I just, my job at the DMV just became unconstitutional. So we are scrambling to try to change all our roles and how our entire job is doing. So I don't know. They said they talked to SEIU, and we had a meeting today, and our management was really adamant that if any SEIU official was on this meeting, they had to be off. This was a closed meeting. And I just don't know what involvement the SEIU is, because we are changing all sorts of working conditions and what we're doing for our entire job.
So you're a hearing officer.
I'm a hearing officer, and basically our role was we were the department's advocate. So basically the DMV's attorney, and then the trier of fact, which the appellate court in Los Angeles just said the same person can't be the independent, unbiased trier of fact, but be involved in a contentious adverse hearing as the DMV's advocate. So we are now switching those jobs and roles. So there's going to be people that are just the DMV's attorney, and then people who are just the trier of fact. But
Yes.
we don't really know how it's all going yet.
Yeah, so Brian, I learned about this earlier today with the bargaining team, so this gives me a different lead in. The bargaining team is still at the table with the state tonight to try to, we may have finished it. I see somebody walking in. So I'm getting a thumb up. Does that mean we have an agreement? So we now have Local 1000 has reached a telework agreement with the state of California as of probably 5 minutes ago, which would have been about 7:25 p.m.
Nice. That's so
Um,
cool.
so that will be moving forward. And with that, Brian, so we learned about this today. And in that discussion, we heard that it came out of the lawsuit. And to our knowledge, my current knowledge, no Local 1000 official, bargaining team member, et cetera, was involved in any of the actions that DMV was taking in reorganizing your work and restructuring after the lawsuit. We do know that DMV is scrambling.
Well, yeah, they told us today. So my direct supervisor said that the union has been contacted, and then they also said the union was involved at the beginning of the meeting, and then said everyone needs to be off if you're part of the union. Luckily, I was a steward saying, okay, I'm just going to observe this and take good notes because everything is changing.
Right. So we're aware.
I think they're appealing the lawsuit to the California Supreme Court. So I think they're appealing it. And so if it gets taken up, this is kind of a to be determined kind of change.
Sure. So, Brian, I would encourage you, since you're there and you're a steward, to make sure that you reach out and keep the bargaining group informed.
Okay.
You
And
can do that. You can do
Unit
that.
1 is Susan Collins, right? Susan
Rodriguez.
Susan Rodriguez. Sorry. Okay. Susan Rodriguez is bargaining unit 1. And she's just at srodriguez@seiu1000.org.
Correct.
Okay.
And I'm sure that if you wanted to include myself, if you have trouble, I'm simply B Hall,
Okay.
HALL, at SEIU1000.org. And if nothing else, I'll at least help you get to the right person.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
And,
Chairman, thank you.
and seriously, thanks for being a steward, and thanks for bringing that forward. It's the only way we learn sometimes.
I'm one of the new stewards that we just finished in March, and February. It was a January-February timeframe. So we still haven't gotten all our stuff yet or anything being a steward. So I know Annika's following up with that, but I just wanted to kind of say that we're still waiting on our certificate and all the certificate that we're officially a steward and all that. We ended right when everything kind of happened at the headquarters, and I don't want to get into that, but yeah, there was extenuating circumstances of why stuff is being delayed. But I just want to kind of make sure other people other than Annika knows that there's a whole lot of new stewards that would like to get their certificate and some stuff from, like I saw that email today saying, please wear your purple. I've never been given a purple shirt from SEIU. So I don't even have a purple SEIU shirt to wear. And I want to wear it on Wednesdays, but I can't. I don't have anything from SEIU.
We will work on that, Brian. And again, thank you for becoming a steward. It's greatly appreciated, and we need more like you. With that, Brian, I'm going to move on to Lynn. Hopefully, Lynn, can you unmute again?
Thank you, Chairman Hall. My
you're
question is directed to Sarah. I believe you mentioned that you reached out to CPUC, and what do I need to do to make this go forward? Do I need to contact my HR, or should I contact my executive director of the PUC and tell her that this is a program which the PUC should engage in, or what? How do we move this forward?
Yeah.
Because you have ITS ones in our headquarters, and we have an office in Sacramento and in Los Angeles, but our ITS director seems to be promoting those to ITS 2 in the Sacramento office, even though we're, other offices are equally qualified. So we as ITS ones, we're kind of stuck. So
I,
Any
I-
information would be helpful.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we didn't reach out to PUC directly.
Oh,
We
okay.
have done different types of outreach. Some of them have included, getting together, a team of kind of SMEs, Local 1000. We used to work with GovOps, Division of Apprenticeship Standards, and going and kind of pitching apprenticeship to different departments at the executive level. That was where we got a lot of movement. And then we've also had our executive sponsor at the state level and management level has shifted from GovOps to CalHR. And so we've tried some other things, especially in light of COVID. So trying to host, a showcase for departments to join and learn about programs. But we're really kind of trying all different kinds of ways to outreach. We recently had a steward at CDE reach out and say, my labor relations manager is interested. What do I do? And I said, well, why don't you give me their email and I'll make an introduction between CDE and CalHR, the people who are working on the apprenticeship on management's end. So really figuring out how to get those parties together is a huge part of it. But I think the more that we hear from members and represented workers about, we want to see this in our department, this is a solution to a lot of our issues. I think the more we hear that, the more departments will buy in. But certainly, I think any of those ways you mentioned, or if you want to, if you have somebody that we could reach out to and say, hey, we heard that you have members who are interested in this, can we, set up a conversation with CalHR and how you might participate and what the next steps would look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you repeat your email again?
Yeah, it's super easy. So it's like grow, GROW, and at SEIU1000.org.
Oh, okay.
So it's spring, growth, grow, development.
Yes, I would definitely like to reach out to our HR director, or in this case, our executive director, who really has an open door policy. So hopefully she can do something to maybe reach out to SEIU or the email.
And on the whole, not with the state, but on the whole, employers, sometimes are reluctant to engage in apprenticeship because it is a lot of, work to get off the ground, and it's investing in someone who's not familiar with the work. But I think that I'll have to find where the statistic comes from, but 87% of employers who have participated in apprenticeship would engage in it again. It's a really successful way. It develops, loyalty among employees and a feeling of investment, and increases morale, and improves, absenteeism as well. It's for employers, I think it would be not a question. It would be definitely participate.
So in thinking about talking with an employer, how many of our members who go through these apprenticeship programs, how many of them stick with it? Do we lose people? Do they stay? Do we know?
Most people get hired on. I was looking at the statistics for our LV and RN, and this is a lot of credit to the program and to CCHES. They've hired 95% of the apprentices who have completed the program at CCHES have been hired into RN positions, which is phenomenal. I mean, it's direct pipeline into an RN position.
Right, which improves people's lives dramatically, right? And then, but once they've gone through that program, now they've promoted, right? How many of those stay with the state and stick with it? Do you know?
I don't know if anybody who has promoted and then left the state offhand. We don't have that data here, but I can think of, we're constantly kind of looking at attrition or who's still with the state. I think there's a couple people in IT, our IT apprenticeships who've left the state. But typically these are people who are invested in the state. They want to be in the state workforce because of the union benefits. And this is one of those.
So this is another thing that actually does help the employer as well, because now they have a more permanent, more stable workforce, right?
Stable workforce, and CCHS, I would say, off the our very first grants, they were really dead set against the program. They didn't want to do it. We had a grant, so it's kind of like, okay, we're going to do this. But they've become one of the biggest advocates for the program, because for all the reasons listed, it fills a need, keeps institutional knowledge. People who are staying with the state, they're rewarded, and it also gives the LVN something to look forward to.
Right. And this is one of the things that Lynn was referring to too, right? As an IT1, it's
Yeah.
very hard to become an IT2, right? And that was sort of one of the issues around the IT reclassification, the way
Right.
the state wanted to push that forward, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
Go ahead, Lynn, we can still hear you. Oh, maybe not. Go ahead, Lynn.
yes, I'd like to say one other thing that due to the reclassification, as far as the ITS ones, at least at my agency, I can't speak for any other agencies, you feel underappreciated. So if you're going to be, and for all the work that we do, definitely underappreciated. So if there's a way to get into the program and to promote or to do a T&D into a ITS2, then that would be great. I mean, in any agencies, I think overall the IT classifications feel unappreciated, overworked, and just not valued at all.
Completely understand.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that comment, and it kind of, I think, points to some of the genesis of, or the origins from which our IT apprenticeships began, because we started training at the help desk or networking level with our first IT apprenticeship program, and then have expanded into additional occupations within IT that not only help meet the pronounced business needs that the state have, but obviously help offer opportunities for growth here to our members within IT that haven't had those opportunities for advancement, or that the opportunities which have been elusive. And so, we presently, or just last year, launched that first cybersecurity apprenticeship cohort, and going forward, I think we look forward to continuing to expand our offerings, not only within the existing IT apprenticeship programs, but also growing into other areas within IT to, help meet that need or that desire to grow that you just articulated, Lynn. So thank you for that comment.
I don't know. You may have to keep talking, Ken. We don't have any other hands up. Do you have something else to share with the audience?
Oh, no. Sylvia just saved me.
Oh, Sylvia saved you, and Steve is back.
Yes.
All right, all
Thank
right.
you, Sylvia.
Sylvia, please unmute. Ken thanks you.
Well, you're welcome. And actually, I've been having connectivity problems, so I hope I don't disconnect again. I just wanted to add a comment to this, because I've always been curious about the apprenticeship programs and wondered why they just weren't offered statewide. And yes, now that we can do everything, with, online, there's actually no reason to do it. But see what happens when you offer it online. You invite way more people to apply and become trained, and to apply for positions maybe in areas that they may have had an eye on, but they needed a higher paying job in order to move there. So with that, this gives them the push that they need to get there, and it also, I don't know, it just makes for more opportunities for people statewide to be able to move into other positions, as well as to promote within, like with the ITs. I mean, I don't know why it has to be in just one area. Why can't it just be statewide? And then they could also move into other departments if they choose to move into another department. It just makes more sense that way.
Well, and I'll share that, you know, we fully support everything you said. And I do think, you know, some of our CalHR partners would agree with that. There's these things called, that regulations, which sometimes get in the way, which are there for a reason, but we have made some headway on some of them. So I did want to share that many of our apprenticeships utilize the T&D as the mechanism to provide on-the-job training. And for those who are familiar with the T&D regulations, previously you could only T&D into an occupation that you were laterally at the same salary level for, which really kind of went against what apprenticeship is meant for, is to develop people and provide greater opportunity. And so Local 1000 was successful in working. I will thank our attorneys here in working to get some modifications to that T&D. I think it was 2 years ago, so that that is no longer a barrier. So our cybersecurity cohort has people across all different occupations, from key data operator to, I think we have an ITS1 in the cybersecurity cohort. So even within IT, people can still participate in an IT apprenticeship and get skills that they might be pivoting focus in their career or growing in their career. So, yeah.
And pushing stuff out across the whole state is never easy, right?
It's not easy. It's something that I think when we were talking about 2019 at the December meeting, that was something I wanted to see done that year. And it's a challenge. I really want to get there. I hope we can get there this year.
All right. Good evening, Steve. Please unmute and join us.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Stephen O'Leary, DLC 723 President. First of all, the gentleman from 725, if he needs a T-shirt, we'll give him a DLC 723 T-shirt if he'd like. I'll call Misty up and we'll get his number. My Vice President, Chief Stewart, is also a hearing officer, and so I know our rep is working on it with our folks, and we've kind of had that issue at CDTFA because now they have an Office of Tax Appeals who handles the actual hearing, and then our people are the people who represent our agents there. But Bill, I heard you say something about a deal. Is there any chair or vice president who can tell us anything about what they've heard about the deal?
Irene was exhausted, Steve. You can stay on, and headed home, I think. She came in about 7:25 this evening. We've been at it since 11 o'clock this morning, and we now have a telework agreement. So now that that's been accomplished, they're going hard to work on essential worker pay. Right. I do know that there were some dates proposed, probably not as soon as people would like to see it done, but remember, the state has a voice in this too. So getting the state back to the table isn't always as quickly as we would like to have happen. But yes, we have a telework agreement, and that will be rolling out shortly, I'm sure.
Great. And I appreciate Irene and the whole team and our staff, as well as our bargaining chairs and yourself. Thank you. And Sarah, hello. Good to see you. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Steve.
Sure.
Hi, Sharon. Can you unmute?
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much, Chairman Hall. My name is Sharon Godot. I'm a steward at DLC 772. I work out of Cohort, California, here in Fresno.
Okay.
I'm always excited with the new endeavors and the apprenticeship programs that SEIU has going on, because I think about what's going on, what's going to be available for my children and my children's children. But currently, I am a program technician 3 at Cohort, California, and I heard a rumor a couple of years or so where SEIU was looking at a reclassification for the program technician series, because there was so much of what program technicians were doing that actually bordered on AGPA SSA, staff services assistant work. And that's so prevalent at Cohort, California, especially out of the Fresno office. Opportunities for advancement are very slim if we want to advance in the Fresno office, we have to either go to EDD or DMV, or we have to transfer to Sacramento. We cannot, there's no huge selection of AGPA SSA positions available in Fresno. And I was wondering, with the whole apprenticeship program, is it possible, or am I like far reaching or whatever, that there are no apprenticeship programs to help transition PT3s into SSA AGPAs? I mean, we do the work, but our management does not recognize that we are doing the work of analysts, because in their minds, an analyst only deals with numbers. An analyst does not look at data, look at information, and decide what's the next step or what's the next best step. So is it possible that we can visit something to help the program technician series? We are like the workhorses of the state, and we are like glorified clerks, but we do all of the basic work in the program.
Can I answer that? Well, I wanted to share that I'm not familiar with a reclassification or reevaluation of that classification series.
Right.
But I do want to say that, I mean, analyst is something that we've looked at for a bit of time. I should also back up a little bit and share that to get any of these programs up and running, it's kind of a 2-year endeavor. So it's seeking out the grant funding, it's working on the program developments, and then kind of creating that application materials and opportunity, and figuring out how to get that together. And there's 3 parties involved. There's the union, management, and the community college typically. And so there's a kind of a long haul there, but it's something that we have looked at. And I know Division of Apprenticeship Standards has spoken to us about that a bit. I think it's certainly in our future. We just don't have anything concrete right now to speak about, but go ahead and if you don't mind sending us an email at grow@sciu1000.org, and we can stay in touch and figure out how that might be something on the forefront, because it is a big a need for the state analysts, whether in Fresno or Sacramento or LA or anywhere.
Right.
And so, I mean, we're just really touching the surface with apprenticeship here. Our partners, our brothers and sisters in the trades have had their apprenticeships for 80 years. And so they kind of work like clockwork, and we're having, to figure this out, and it's exciting, and it's also, challenging, but we want to be able to provide more opportunity wherever we can.
Okay.
100%.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome,
I'll do
Sharon.
that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
You too. Good evening, Latrice. Can you unmute?
Okay. Hi, you guys. It's Latrice Stewart in DLC 781 at CalPERS. I just wanted to answer the first lady, not the one that just hung up, the other one, about jobs in Sacramento. What people don't understand is that half of the union is in Sacramento, because this is the headquarters for all state agencies, majority of them.
Right.
And so because all the jobs are here, when you leave out of Sacramento, it's a barely scraping through to find a job, or people are in the jobs for like 10, 20 years and they never leave. And there are like IT apprenticeship programs like at CalPERS. We was one of the first agencies to do so, to be in the program. And I'm not sure if they have them now. I'm in IT right now, but I'm not sure if we're in the process of changing over our top person, Christian Farland, who's the CIO right now. He's retiring in June. So we're going to have a new CIO. And I just would say to recommend to people, especially if you're going through the apprenticeship program, to start going classes. Start taking classes, even if you're not in the program, so that when you're in the program, you can say, I've already taken classes of X, Y, and Z. And also another thing is for people to take advantage of their training classes at their agency. CalPERS has training classes that give us like 500 plus hours of LinkedIn learning, which you can learn anything you want to without going to a class, but you've taken the class, certified yourself through the program. So all I wanted to say is that it's best for people to take the initiative and start it and not wait for people to just say, oh, well, we're having it now. And if you were to have it later on, I mean, you would have to take that class, or you didn't take the classes that you needed to take to get accepted into the program. That's all I wanted to say. I apologize. I just wanted to put that out there.
No, thanks, Latrice. I mean, the conversation is important. And who knows who you might have helped this evening, with the idea of moving forward and upward mobility. Upward mobility is a key.
Yes, and that's the thing that as I was a DLC leader for a long period of time, we did have the upward mobility program started. We were in the IT. We were part of the apprenticeship program, and at CalPERS we have 525 IT people. So we have a very big shot. And I know that the people are retiring now. Some people are transferring jobs and stuff. So it's better to look at what you can get yourself into, look at the specifications so that you can make a decision for yourself and start it off, not wait for somebody to tell you to start. So anyway, all right.
Super.
Thank
Super.
you.
Hey, thanks, Latrice. We really appreciate tonight. I'm sure you helped somebody. So we're at 7:58. Any closing remarks?
Boy, I'm tired. This is late for me. But I just appreciate the opportunity to share this program. It's so innovative. I don't know if our members know that we're really Local 1000. These programs with the state are the first of their kind and recognized across the nation for being that. So this is just terribly innovative. It's something I think we can all be proud of at Local 1000, and we can only hope to grow them and offer more opportunities.
Yeah, I would just share that from that first LVN to RN apprenticeship program that was established in 2016, I think we've come a pretty long way with the 7 programs we have now and the volume of apprentices we've registered. We know that there are more geographic areas to tap into, as well as industry sectors that can be capitalized upon. But as we move forward, we look forward to navigating some of the barriers in our way and getting this figured out for the benefit of all of the members.
So I just want to say thank you for everybody who came and showed up tonight. Thank you for your questions and the conversation. Next week, Brooke Pierman and Irene Green will return to continue the discussion on the contract and bargaining, where we're going for 2023. And with that, thank you very much and have a great evening.